so we are recording also. Well, everyone, how are you today? Thank you for coming. We are going to work on this class in 3 different aspects. The majority of you are already cursing the strategies and all the work that you're doing, knowing the strategies, practicing the strategies, and working on your writings and working on your reading, listening, and all the parts, okay? So today we are going to do, as a support class that we do every Friday, and this is more or less how the class will be always, okay? From 7 to 8, actually. From 7 to 8, we are going to see Síntoma IELTS. Basically, Síntoma IELTS, as you may know, it's about seeing your symptoms. What are the things that are troubling you? And depending on the things that are troubling you, we are going to work on strategies to improve that, or strategies that we already have. So the idea is to work on specific things, knowing where the problem is, if it's in the listening, the reading, the writing, the speaking, which are the parts that are troubling you, to either apply what we already have or create something new for you, okay? Pretty much after 20 years in IELTS, we basically know the majority of the problems related to IELTS, but we never know. Sometimes we can have newer aspects that are a problem inside of the test, in the different parts. And also we need to work on those. So we need to work to find the strategy, to find how we modify the strategy or what is left to do in order to satisfy your needs in IELTS. From 8 to 9, we're gonna work on strategies. Now, the question is, which strategies? This depends on the kind of strategies that you don't remember very well, or something that you did not understand in your classes, or if there is a strategy that is actually not working properly, or you're trying to adapt, but it's difficult for you. So we're gonna work to refresh some of the strategies part. Also, we are going to see some grammar check in some of the writings. We got 2 writings to analyze today. And we are going to see the mistakes. We're going to see the things in the writing that are done well and the things that have to improve. And lexical resources, how we are going to improve lexical resources also, okay? So we're gonna work on those. And then from 9 to 10, we are going to do some speaking practice. Now, every Friday, we are going to concentrate in a speaking practice, but we are going to concentrate in some specific uses. The strategy is seen in your classes. My work is to complement and to make those strategies shine better. For that, we work on grammar mistakes, use of English mistakes, and also on lexical resources. For example, today we are going to work in the use of connectors. We are going to use connectors when we speak, because this is going to influence and affect the lexical resources part of the speaking positively. Leslie, I'm going to upload this to our YouTube channel. Therefore, you will be able to go with it. Now, one thing that I need you to hold for me for a second, I got my cable in the next classroom, so I'll be right back. Okay, back. Now we have it all complete. All right. So yes, as I mentioned before, we are going to upload this to our YouTube channel. It might take like a couple of days to do it. Probably I'll start doing it tonight or tomorrow night, but we are going to do it, okay? So that's the program for today, and basically the program that we work on every single Friday. So let's start first with Síntoma IELTS.
Mauricio?
Yes.
Sorry, sorry for the question. But I have the test on February 9, and
Yes.
you know about the plan of the government step by step, and Santiago is now in step 2. And the problem is I'm from Viña, and it's not possible to pass to Santiago in phase, in phase 2. So what happened?
Yes, when that happens, you need to. I think you should write to Araceli in advance, so she has you. Now I'm gonna write. You need to write to her in advance, just in case we will have to reschedule because of these restrictions. So we are very aware of those, and anything that is regarding with the test, like the exam itself, your schedule, your booking of the exam, you need to talk with her. That is why. So I would recommend you to get in touch with her and to be ready if something happens in terms of these restrictions. However, with no charge, of course, you get rescheduled to another date when it will be possible for you to do it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now, let's just start. Síntoma IELTS, I want you to tell me more or less and give me a feedback of the things and the work that you have been doing in your classes. And if we talk about the strategies that you've been learning, if we talk about all these aspects that regard to strategies itself, the strategies themselves, actually, is there something that is troubling you? Is there something that you feel that you're not understanding very well? Is there something that you feel that you are stuck in IELTS, in the reading, in the listening, in the writing, or in the speaking part?
I begin.
Yes.
Well, in my case, I have been practicing the writing task too, and I have few questions about this structure. My first question is if when I read the question and they tell me give your opinion, is literally give your opinion, or it could be with another expression?
Good question. When they ask us to give our opinion, we refer to give our opinion literally, because the question is telling us to give our opinion. What we want to do always is that we would like to mirror and we would like to reflect what the question is asking us to do. Therefore, if the question says, give your opinion, then it's your opinion. You can use the I believe, I think, I firmly believe, I strongly believe that, and then you give your own opinion. And the examples that we give have to be related to our own view, our own experience, or anything that we already know about the topic. Okay, therefore, when we give our opinion, it is perfectly okay and also recommended to use I think, I believe. It's better to use I believe. It's stronger than just I think. Okay, did I answer your question?
Okay, thank you. And when I am going to explain my thesis, that is my view, but they don't tell me give your opinion, but I am going to present my thesis, can I say I think or I believe or not?
if they ask you, some things have changed more or less. And nowadays we rather not give our opinion when usually we used to give our opinion for any kinds of question, right? But it's rather better not to give our opinion if your opinion is not being asked. And this is very common to see in structure number 2, in the kind of questions that are advantages and disadvantages and discuss both views. So for instance, if we have a question, right, and the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in the countryside. So we have to identify right away that we're talking about structure number 2. Do you see well over there? Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Therefore, we know that this is structure number 2 because it is clearly stated advantages and disadvantages. So there is not much to analyze. We know that we are going to use the second structure. Now, first, before worrying about anything related to opinions, is the first thing that we need to check. So okay. Before anything else, is it my opinion involved or is not? In this case, it's not involved. As it is not involved, we are not going to give our opinion. Neither in the introduction nor within the development. Therefore, this is going to look like this. In the introduction, 2 paragraphs of development. Okay, I think I want to just like this. So it's going to be just like that, 4 paragraphs. And in the introduction, we are going to start with our background sentence, our general sentence, as Cambridge mentioned, right? The opening sentence. After the opening sentence, we are going to then paraphrase the main sentence. Remember that this is the main sentence always, right? And then in the thesis part is thesis 1 and thesis 2. Thesis 1 is about the advantages. So we need to present the thesis of the advantages. And then we need to present the thesis of the disadvantages. So that must be very clear. And this is something that you need to start automating. What would I recommend is to visit the IELTS-exam.net. That is a wonderful website where you can see more than 220 exercises, I guess, by now. Therefore, this is going to be very useful to start identifying questions and classifying questions to become accustomed and familiar with the question identification, which is actually very important. If you feel confident with the question you have identified, then it's going to be, your writing will come out better, but you are going to be more confident of what you're doing. Therefore, a better level of concentration will be seen. A more exact and precise work, precision will also improve because you're confident of what you're doing. Therefore, your ideas are better shaped for what you are expressing. So that's going to be important to consider that this is basically kind of like automatic. Then we are going to present the arguments, right? The argument 1, argument 2, and this is going to be about the advantages here. Okay? The arguments of those advantages. And then we are going to present the argument 1 and argument 2 for the disadvantages here, right there. So we have 2 theses and both are supported, fully supported. And then in the conclusion, we are going to just give the summarization, you know, the conclusion of that. So no opinion has been given whatsoever, neither here nor in the conclusion. Sometimes we choose to give our opinion in the conclusion, which is not the best idea. The conclusion should be about summarizing arguments more than giving another opinion. That's important. So that now, what is the picture and how this is going to be if we add it? What are the advantages and disadvantages of living in the countryside? And give your opinion. So let me just put this all together. Just put this away. And give your opinion. All right, we have turned again to a very different picture now, okay? So now this changes. What is it going to change? Number one, these two theses will disappear. See, they disappear. Just a thesis. And here, we are going to write my opinion. That. And right before the conclusion, there is going to be another paragraph with the development of my opinion. Development of my opinion. This is then how practical is going to be and how well we are going to do it. Now, this is important that you not only remember it, but also memorize it. The more we memorize, not what we are going to write, that is memorizing and is punished in the test. It's very easy to spot when someone is memorizing. We have studies about that, and we know how to identify, better examiners do, when someone is writing sentences that are just basically memorized, but not saying anything really important and related to the topic of the question. So that's important. Don't try to memorize. You can prepare starters. You can prepare beginnings or starting sentences, okay? We must acknowledge that. Perfect. Perhaps it is also important to consider that those are starters. You can prepare those. You can have those at hand because they are going to be very useful. But in terms of the topic, there's not really much you can do. So that's going to be important. As soon as they ask us for our opinion is here. And then in this part of the paragraph, the opinion is given. However, you will always prepare your writing as if this did not exist. Always. Therefore, the thesis for the advantages. Too far away? See, I have a big whiteboard. I mean, this is just my Christmas present. Yeah? So I'm very happy with it. I got a big thing to work around. So that's going to be, for instance, if, what I was saying, if then opinion is given, okay, now when you do the plan does not change, right? So we need a thesis for the advantages with two arguments, right? We need a thesis for the disadvantages with two arguments. We still need those. That does not change. So we have to use then, we still need those theses. Why? You said like, why do we need a thesis for the advantages and disadvantages if what we have to do is our opinion? Yes, our opinion in the introduction, but your thesis is still going inside the paragraph. Mm-hmm. The thesis for the advantages, the two arguments right here, the thesis for the disadvantages, the two arguments right here. Therefore, this plan is still very valid as if there was nothing new. That's just the same, right? But the difference is that the theses then are not going to go here anymore. That's important, all right? Is this idea, let's talk only about advantages and disadvantages. Now we are going to go to the other structure too, which is discuss both views. So we're going to see that also. But first, is this clear enough?
Yes, it is clear. But something else, a little something question. I am in the case where you are not tell me, give your opinion, okay? And I am developing my introduction. Okay, and then in the introduction, I am going to write my thesis. Yes, and in my thesis, it is a void that I can say, or I have to explain in third person. For example, it has seen that, but I can't talk or I can't write in first personal pronoun.
You cannot write in first person because as soon as you involve your first person, you are giving your own opinion.
Yes. Okay. So what do you recommend? What do you recommend that I talk for your, for their, or we?
There, they.
Okay.
Or in passive voice. In passive voice, then passive voice impersonal. However,
for example, in my practice, I have different phrases like over the years, people have seen how ta 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 ta.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That was my question.
It is better to write than over the year, people have seen. Is it necessary to involve people? Because people is the active voice. Isn't it better now that we are not going to write? See, you're talking about a third person now. You're talking about they. Isn't it better? Isn't it better that, although you are not going to write?
And how can I write over the years and continue with the verb?
What you have to do is to take people out of the sentence. People have been seen. So we take people out of the sentence and we're going to have been seen or has been seen. Oh, no, I think you said people have been.
Yes, I say over the years, people have seen or children's or
okay.
I write the subject.
People have been developing, people have been going, people have been doing. That is all active voice. Now,
okay.
If we just take people away from the sentence, we will need to use passive voice. Okay. Over the years, it has been seen. Then now we are writing the passive voice.
Profe, it was my question if I can use it in third person.
Yes, of course.
It has been a very difficult situation, a complicated situation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
And that is going to be better than using a subject in active voice. Now you have to be careful. Yes, you have to be careful then writing all the sentences in passive voice. It is not so exactly. I mean, if you write the entire writing in passive voice, your writing will become too impersonal.
Yes, I need to change my tense.
You need to change the subjects. I mean, you need to use the objects or the situation as your subjects. And the real subjects, the I, you, he, she, it, we, and they have to more or less disappear or go in the end. For instance, how can we write this introduction? Let's plan this, okay? Let's go for the plan. Actually, not. We're going to go with the plan with the other exercise. Everybody's well accustomed to work with advantages and disadvantages, but you also need to become accustomed to work with discuss both views, as it is another important part and another important question in the real test. So let's work with discuss both views, do the plan, develop it in passive voice, all right? So that's going to be actually better to do. We are still in Síntoma IELTS, so we are just refreshing, doing some things. When you say, I have some question, you said some question, but you were going to say, or you really intended to say, I have some questions. Yes, at the end of the verb.
In plural.
Yes. So don't forget the S's at the end of the words. They are important to be mentioned. There are two types of S's. The S of the noun, houses, buildings, workers. And also the ones that are also plural, but without an S, people, that's one example. Remember that people is plural, all right?
People
And the
people,
S's of the verbs, especially, I mean, specifically, right? He, she, it,
Okay.
and the verb in present time goes with S. So don't forget the two uses of the S's. So,
are you going to explain this Cosmos view, isn't it?
no, we are going to write a question that is discuss both views, because we have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about discuss both views. Basically, it's the same, but with a different kind of topic, but it's the same mechanic. All right. So discuss both views. Some people like to take vacations in summer.
Mauricio?
Yes, while others, yes.
Before we continue, I have a question about the introduction. In the guide that you sent us, it says that the introduction has the opening, you have to paraphrase the main sentence, the thesis for advantage and disadvantage, plus the opinion. Is that right?
It's
the guide that
not
you sent us?
exactly the thesis of the advantage, the thesis of the disadvantages, and if it doesn't say to give your opinion, you just don't give your opinion.
Yeah, I understand. But in the guide that the teacher sent us, it says that you have to write the opening, you have to paraphrase the main sentence, plus the thesis, plus the opinion. Do you understand me?
The advantages and disadvantages, but you don't give those theses in the introduction. In the introduction, you give your opinion.
Okay, just thank you.
Second. I'm just going to upload it. I'm just. Was not connected directly, so I realized that now. All right, that should improve the connection. Now, am I too confusing for you? Is there something that you don't understand in terms of, if we have to give our opinion, then the thesis for the advantages and disadvantages will go in the developing paragraphs, but are not going to go in the introduction. In the introduction, we are going to write the opening, paraphrasing, my opinion. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to give you my email. I'm going to write it here. And what I want you to do is to write an introduction of advantages and disadvantages of a question with your opinion and a question without your opinion. Okay, so you're gonna have to go to the website. Write down, please. You're gonna go to the website and you are going to look for two questions. One question, advantages and disadvantages. Do the plan, write the introduction, and send it to me. And you are going to write, and you're going to look for another question, advantages and disadvantages. Did I say with opinion first or without opinion? Don't remember.
You say with opinion.
Okay. And then you are going, thanks. And then you are going to look for a question, advantages and disadvantages without your opinion. And then you are going to plan it, and then you're going to write the introduction. You're going to have to send it to me. The email is the same email you got when I sent you the link, my link. So you're going to have to send me two introductions. One introduction of advantages and disadvantages with opinion, and one introduction of advantages and disadvantages without opinion. All right, so you have that homework. You have to send me that homework. Who is your teacher?
Nicole.
Okay, if by Monday I haven't received your homework, I'm going to have to talk with Nicole for Nicole to remind you. All right, so we need to see that. We need to make sure that you have a clear picture of this. Thank you. Now let's go. Some people like to take vacations in summer while others in the winter time. Discuss both views or discuss both preferences. Discuss both views or preferences and give your opinion, right? Yeah, that seems to be the most difficult. Now, when we plan, what are we going to plan? So let's do the plan. Step number one, think about the question. Understand it. How many parts this question has? Is this question having only one part, right? Only one thing? We see only one sentence?
No, we have two ways.
We have two situations, okay?
Two situations. Teacher, sorry. For example, you have two situations in the main sentence.
Two situations.
Two situations in the main sentence.
Exactly.
And if you have one situation in the main sentence and ask you, for example, do you think this is a good idea or a waste time? The two situations are in the question. It could be discussed by you, is not. It's impossible. Okay, thank you. The two ways or two situations have to be in the main sentence.
Exactly.
Okay, now, excellent.
The question that you said, what structure will be?
Choice. It is choice.
Exactly. So it's going to be the first structure, right?
Because I need to choose in the question, about the question that they are doing.
I need to choose.
Choose.
Okay, I need to choose.
Choice is what we take.
Okay.
Choose is the action that we involve in to take it. All right. So that's important. Now the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
We are going to plan two views, the first view and the second view. Now the first view is that summer, and the second view is other people preferring in winter time, right? Now to plan for the summer, we need a thesis and we need arguments. Argument 1, argument 2. And then for the winter, we also need a thesis planned for winter. We also need a thesis in argument 1 and argument 2. All right? Good. Now, can anyone help me on this? Can we do this together? So we have, okay, so we are going to, Patricia will do one and someone else will help me to do the second, okay? So let's go. Summertime. Why people would prefer, why would people prefer to do it on in summertime? What kind of arguments we can have?
Good weather.
Excuse me?
Good weather.
Okay, so the weather. All right, that's one thing. Something else?
Longer days.
Okay, so longer days. So what then will be a thesis for this? Now remember one thing. Again, for some of us, it's difficult to create sometimes a thesis with one idea that is involved in both arguments. For some of you, it might be easy, but for some of us, it's a bit difficult. Therefore, what happens if we have some trouble trying to create a thesis? If you have trouble trying to create a thesis, you have to try to avoid going too long, like trying to do this and just developing, wasting too much time thinking about that. So in the first times that you're doing the writing, what you have to do is just paraphrase this. It's going to be a better climate and days are going to be longer days. days, we're gonna have more hours in the day to enjoy, longer days, right? Just paraphrase them both, and that is your thesis. Is that clear?
Yes.
If by any chance, number 3, if by any chance summarizing both arguments into one thesis was absolutely difficult to do and you couldn't do it in the first time, trying to paraphrase both arguments, number 2, trying to paraphrase those arguments was also quite difficult, that it was taking too long. Number 3, try to do this only a couple of times, but you need to develop. I mean, if you have trouble trying to do this, I will give you some homework. This is Síntoma IELTS, and I will give you some homework to improve this, right? Just write both arguments shortly here because of weather and longer days, and then develop the same at the end. I mean, in the paragraph. It's not the ideal, but it's a good start to make you start becoming more accustomed to the work. I'm going to silent the ones that are not silent. So the idea is that everyone is silent, and when you have something to say, then you can just say it, or you can just raise your hands, or just interrupt me. All right, good. So we are with Patricia, and then what would be what's a good thesis for this?
Daytime is more enjoyable. Sorry.
Excuse me?
Daytime is more enjoyable.
Okay, so yeah, daytime more enjoyable and enjoyable. Okay, daytime enjoyable. I'm not accustomed to these things. Daytime more enjoyable. Yeah, that could be another thesis, maybe.
A better experience.
A better experience in terms of something, right?
Yeah, in terms of holidays.
Yes, or a better experience in terms of climate and time. Climate and time, see? Because there are proper conditions, much proper conditions for outdoor enjoyment. That can also be another one. Yeah, we can pull like 5, 6, 7 ideas out of this. So there's not a perfect thesis, not at all. It might be the most precise thesis, but not the perfect thesis. There can be a couple of theses here that are going to be correct. Of course, that there's going to be one that it might be the precise thesis, because the words that you are using, the word choice, is exactly the word that is showing what you like to express. And that is also towards a better score, because word choice is also, in terms of lexical resources, are going to add up. Now, wintertime, someone else.
Is cheapest.
Is the cheapest or is cheaper?
It's cheaper.
All right. And what else can be?
Less people.
Fewer people.
Fewer.
Low season.
Less crowds.
Yeah, less crowd. You can use less with an uncountable noun. We can say less crowd because the crowd cannot be counted. It can only be counted when we are going to make it like a singular units or singular persons there. Therefore, we are going to start counting the people in the crowd. So then it becomes what you said, like fewer people. People is countable, so we write fewer people. If you write crowd, we can say lesser crowd. All right, good. Then what then is fewer people, cheaper? What can be this thesis? Any idea? Should I repeat it then? Because it's going to be okay. I'm going to do something, and you tell me if you believe that this is correct or incorrect. You need to gain property. Okay. You need to become more empowered. And then you need to practice. I can simply see right here that I have 25 students who haven't really gone in through the questions, right? Through the questions, and be ready for the type of questions you have and how you are going to plan it. Doing the plan is quite important, because this is if you do a good plan, you will have a strong start. And if you have a strong start, we can expect that everything will be absolutely fine. Okay, good. Now, just a second. Inexpensive. It's inexpensive and not crowded. All right, that can be the thesis. It's inexpensive and not crowded. We are looking for the antonyms. Antonyms in this case. When you look for the antonyms, when you look for the antonyms in this case, like inexpensive, so that means that it's cheaper, and not crowded, that means that it's actually this is actually a synonym, but this is inexpensive. That means that, so that's important also to take into account. Yes, question. Who was there for the question?
Could it be said like vacations in a more convenient way?
Yes, you can.
Because it englobes both ideas. It's cheaper and fewer people. Maybe it's not described there as both ideas, but saying that it's convenient maybe says that there's something more behind that idea.
If you apply it to that idea, but what you are saying is not really implied because there are two different ideas. Mm-hmm. So it's not implied that one. I don't know if you're trying to make this inversely proportional in somehow or not.
I was just trying to create a thesis that, like you said, but if it's wrong, it's okay. Maybe yours is.
All right. So tell us the thesis.
Like winter time is more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely convenient. Why would it be more convenient?
There you can describe both arguments, because it's cheaper and there's less people.
Good. Now, fewer people.
Okay, fewer.
Fewer people. Now, excellent. Why would it be excellent? Therefore, we say that it's convenient. We intrinsically know that this is convenient. However, in your arguments, you need to demonstrate with arguments and hopefully examples why cheaper will be convenient and why fewer people will be convenient. This is very important. We need to keep the unity. It's not about saying that it's cheaper. So it is cheaper, therefore it is convenient. Not really. You need to explain it. And this is important that sometimes we miss this point and we become disconnected from the thesis. The ideas that you are going to explain have to be well connected to the thesis. Therefore, if we say that it's cheaper, you need to explain why it is cheap. Cheaper will be convenient. If you say that convenient means like fewer people, you need to explain why fewer people will imply that it's convenient. Then you will hold it and you will weld it strongly. And then you will have unity in the writing. It is very important to keep the concept of unity because this is what is going to make your body paragraphs strong and connected. All right? Good. Now, we're ready for the introduction now. Okay, so let's work on this together. All right? Sentence number one. What can be? What is the sentence here? Is the opening sentence, right? The general sentence.
Yes.
What can it be?
Nobody can deny that vacations are so necessary for humans.
No one can deny that
holidays
Are
needed.
Very good. Passive voice. Yeah, necessity, of course.
Are needed by families or by people?
No, when there's by anyone. Or by everyone. By everyone, right?
Okay, got it.
We open it. Now, we have to go with the paraphrase. Now, how are we going to paraphrase this? Any one of you who wants to paraphrase this? Okay.
Winter vacations are preferred for some people.
I prefer for or by?
By.
By some people.
Yeah, because if I prefer for, you are giving these vacations to someone. It's like, hey, I'm giving you this. This is for you. But actually, by is what is actually being lived.
Okay. Right. It could be by a remarkable percentage of people.
Quiet and sensitive people?
Preferred by?
A huge percentage of people.
Or a remarkable, it could be. Remarkable percentage of people.
By, okay, by a remarkable percentage of people. That sounds good. All right.
Or a dramatically preferred by some percentage of people.
Now, someone says are dramatically preferred. What you are doing is you are giving a stronger content. Because if you are adding an adverb, just a second, please, let me finish. If you add some adverbs, adjectives to the sentences, you are increasing the intentionality that you have in the sentences. However, let's better do that when we finish the sentence.
Okay.
So that we don't get confused with the sentence. First, you need to comply with what the question is asking you to do, which is actually to complete this. And then when we finish and we are sure that we are addressing coherently and progressively correct, cohesively correct, then we can say, okay, how are we going to propose a better lexical resource? We are going to the second part of the class. Anyways, we were going to do this next, but as this is the big question, we're going to work on this. All right, so no one can deny that holidays are needed by everyone. That's the opening sentence. Winter vacations are preferred by a remarkable percentage of people, while for others,
summertime. It is preferable.
While for others,
summertime is more preferable.
Okay, now summertime, yeah, that if you write more preferable, this kind of adjective goes after the noun. Okay, because then the sentence will have a better construction, a more precise construction, or more correct. Now, that's going to be for others, summer will be. Now, if we are writing preferred, isn't it better to look for something other than just preferable? We're using the same kind of, we are like paraphrasing the word, but isn't it better to look for another vocabulary? Maybe.
Will be the best option?
Will be the best option, that can be there, or will be the best option.
Yeah, you can say the best option or first choice.
The best option or the best choice. Very good. See, all this is correct. All that you are doing is correct. I'm changing, however, what you already said is correct, okay? Now then we have already paraphrased this. Now.
Mauricio?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a question. Is correct use remarkable percentage of people that in the original question say some people?
We are going to go there. Just a second.
Yeah, I had the same question. It's like we're talking about winter, but it's summer, and we should be talking about summer when it's winter, like in verse.
Good points. We are getting there. We are getting there. As I just said, I'm letting you free. Let's develop. While we develop, then we are going to work on the things that should not be in the way that we just proposed them. But sometimes error, mistakes are necessary to understand and associate with the correct forms better. Because if I just throw correct sentences and perfection here, then you won't know how to really associate. And if I just throw beautiful sentences that are all correct and all great, and they apply perfectly well, I'm not teaching you. I am showing you. The idea is that I have to teach you. And to teach you, teaching, error is part of the teaching. So we need to make mistakes in order to associate with the correct form that we are going to apply. So always think about that. Every time you see things, change them. Make them different. Make your mind work. And then you will realize how well, or which is the sentence, or which are the forms that are going to be the correct form. That's it. This is an important point not to forget. All right. Okay, so where we are. Now, it's my opinion then. Remember that this is my opinion. Therefore, what we have to do here, we need to give our opinion, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or we have to write a thesis for the advantages and disadvantages, discuss both views. One view, the other view. What will be the correct form?
We have to give
my opinion, right? Opinion. So we have 25 different opinions. So what we're going to do is we're going to write just one opinion. I believe summertime or summertime would be the summertime would be
the best season.
What?
The best season.
Or my chosen season. Yeah, because I like to choose. See, some people like. So I'm going to be better connected with the question because the question is asking you. Okay, promise you next class all this will be fixed. Like, be my chosen season. Now, and this is the question. When I write my chosen season, should I write like a reason, or I can say my chosen seasons for 2 reasons, for 3 reasons, or because something? What do you think you can go there? Isn't it something that I can leave it a little bit open so that I can develop it later?
No, only one reason, because I have one paragraph to explain exactly. All my...
Have your reason ready to go. You don't have to prepare a lot of things in here. Your opinion is what you really believe or what you intend to believe. Sometimes we don't really have an opinion on something because we're just very neutral about the topic. However, try then to go to what your senses are going to tell you to do better, or what your knowledge is going to drive you to make it more precise. In this case, what is convenient for you to say as your reason, right? Any reason here? I believe summertime will be my chosen season because
And now the thesis.
yeah, it's more
The
than
arguments of it.
it's more than a thesis. We already have the thesis. Okay, the thesis for the we already have 2 theses here. More than a thesis is my opinion. It's my belief. The theses are this: it's convenient because winter is more convenient than the other one, and the daytime is more enjoyable. But this, in terms of these 2 things, right? The weather and the longer days. So those are the theses. What I'm trying to write is what I believe. It's just more than a thesis. It's just my opinion. It's what I think. I have some options. I can choose one of those 2, right? So I can say, because it is also for me, no, not also, because we're not showing this, but because it is more enjoyable in my case, or because weather is important for me. See, try to write something. If you're going to choose some of this too, right? When you, in your opinion, you are going to choose some of this too, then try to write something that is related to that reason. If you have a different reason, then write the reason or the explanation that you have for this. If you close your eyes and think about wintertime, if it is wintertime, what then will be? If you think about summertime, close your eyes and think, okay, summertime for me, because what do you think about that? For me is the weather, the temperatures, right? It's like the temperatures are appropriate for different activities. So for me, it's going to be because I have the opportunity to choose from different activities to do. All right, so it's going to be for me because I would have more activities to choose from. That's it. That is my reason. Because it asked me to for my reason. Give their opinion. And that's my opinion.
And
is this clear now? Yes.
Maybe because I would be more advantageous.
This is not on disadvantages. Maybe for you, for your opinion, it's going to be more advantageous because it is going to be, because it will have more advantages. That can be one, or because more advantages for me.
More advantages, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good. Now, let's see. No one can deny that holidays are needed by everyone. Holiday. Okay, good. Winter vacations are preferable, are preferred by a remarkable percentage of people, while other summer will be the best choice. I don't see that remarkable will be detrimental to some. I mean, maybe a little bit, okay? Others. Remarkable percentage of people, it is maybe not well seen together with others. I mean, it's like, yeah, you're a little bit imbalanced in that neutrality. I don't think so. I think it's remarkable, while others, yes.
So you're implying that remarkable should be changed?
I think yes. Now, if you write remarkable, weather was not here, probably by some percentage of people. Now, some will be actually better associated with the other side. So probably the difference or the intrinsic imbalance on both ways is going to be actually better balanced. So I think that is going to be better. Did you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes, because And I think it was right. I mean, remarkable.
Some task 1.
Yes, that will be for task 1. Good idea. When we don't have this other side, we only have to choose, or we only have to agree or disagree. And I think now the rest is okay, right?
I think an alternative would be if I notice that winter in reality is not a remarkable hasn't a remarkable percentage of people. Maybe I could change winter for summer and say summer vacations are preferred by a remarkable percentage of people, while for others, winter will be the best choice. And if I realize that what I'm saying is not completely true or reasonable, I can just change the words and fix it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you should. It's not that you can, you should. Because then you make it more balanced. I mean, in this case, it seemed to be a bit imbalanced. So that's okay. Now, what we have behind us, in front of you, is then how this has to look like, right? So we have complied with one important thing in this question, coherence and cohesion, right? So we are coherent. I mean, in this first part, coherence and cohesion. That's going to look better next time, okay? Coherence and cohesion, that's fine. I mean, it works. We're just in the introduction. But this is to explain you how the rubrics have to be then seen, supervised, or checked, right? So that rubric gets okay. Now let's go to grammar. Grammar range. Is it the grammar okay? It looks like it's pretty much decent, right? So the grammar is okay. What about lexical resources? And completion, task achievement. So far so good for now, because this is just the introduction. So we haven't heard this part yet. But what else we can do? Lexical resources. What are the things that we can improve in lexical resources? We can improve the quality of the English with the passive voice, with the modals, with the conditional. Probably conditional is not here, but with vocabulary, right? We can improve also the intentionality of our sentences with the adjectives, with the adverbs. And we can also improve the vocabulary overall with the nouns, looking for different nouns, better nouns, higher vocabulary nouns than the ones that we have written here. If we think about lexical resources, converting one of these sentences into a passive voice, do you have any site here that we can make it and turn it into passive voice? Good. I am going to give you now, with this sentence, I'm going to go for my coffee, and I am going to give you, right there, I am going to give you 5 minutes. For the next 5 minutes, what I like you to do is to take a look at this sentence and to improve it. In terms of what? Lexical resources. Can we convert one of these sentences into the passive voice? Can we add a modal, right? Can we convert one of the sentences into ing? Can we convert one of the sentences into ing? Or basically, can we improve the intentionality of the sentence? Can we potentiate that intention of the sentences with an adjective, with an adverb? And can we do that? All right? So remember that one thing is quality. The other thing is going to help me with the intention. Having more intention means stronger argument. not 100%, but in a great percentage. It will help you with that argument. That argument will have a stronger intention, right? With an adjective, with an adverb. And also, is any of these nouns or actually verbs be changed by another one with a higher vocabulary? Okay, so you have 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we do a quick check and we move on to the next part of the class, okay? So you have 5 minutes. Two minutes, I think. 11, no, 1 minute. 1 minute. 10, 9, 8. Okay, anyone? Hopefully, just some of you will share. Now, lexical
I
resources.
have some idea.
Okay, you have to say what you are referring to. If it's going to improve the quality of the sentence, the changes you make, if it's going to improve the intentionality that you are going to, with what you're expressing, or you are going to change for a higher vocabulary, some of the words, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's
I starting maybe with nowadays. No one can deny that holidays are needed for everyone. And then I say certainly winter vacations are preferred by some percentage of people. Mm-hmm. And maybe with connectors. And then, yeah, and then I strongly believe for intention, my opinion, and strongly believe that something and within, because, mainly because for more intention too, is my idea.
So Karen has worked two things, right? Quality with certainly. Now, Karen, you started the paragraph with nowadays. It's good. Yeah. When you apply the next connector, probably is better to apply not in the beginning of the sentence, but in the middle of the sentence. Winter vacations are, comma, certainly, comma, preferred by. Because then you demonstrate a variety of the use of the connector. Using the connectors always in the beginning isn't that advisable, because we like to also, we encourage our students and we teach them, right, to also learn to use the connectors right in the middle, because that will show a better management of connectors, implying that this will be a better management of the language itself. All right. So
yeah, I understand.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So that would be, now strongly believe, I strongly, then you are also improving the intention, which you are actually delivering your idea. Good work. Anybody else?
Teacher?
Yes.
In order to use connectors, there is any commas rule that I should be following? Like,
good.
For example, connectors should always be between commas, or is any rule for that?
Connectors are first what is going to show the intention of what you are going to say, what is going to give the stress. What kind of aspect are you going to stress? Certainly, would stress that the sentence that is coming is actually very true, right? And you want to emphasize that, for instance. However, is going to make an exception of what you have been, or what you are saying already. So you write something, and then you write, however, you're making an exception. You're changing the idea by adding something that makes an exception of the rule of what you're writing, right? Or something that contradicts in a certain way what you have already written. Therefore, as this change would apply, you need the pauses in that connector to emphasize what you are going to change, because you are not in the same idea anymore. You are adding something to the idea. Either you are adding something to the idea, you are subtracting something from that idea, or you are modifying what you have already written. That is why basically that connector will work there. The second reason is a phonetic reason. When we are just writing a connector, we are actually making a pause grammatically. Therefore, a comma is needed to create the next sentence correctly. So those are the two main reasons why we're going to add. And also because you like, in third, because you're emphasizing something. So this is an emphasis that you're given. Therefore, you need a connector for that. There are some cases in which connectors are not needed because it's a connector. It's a connectivity word. It's a connectivity word that does not need any kind of comma. Sometimes, if you like to emphasize, also you can just set a comma. However, in order to make it also more formal and clearer for the reader to make that pause and emphasize what you're going to write, it's good to have a comma after every single connector that we write, at least the majority of them. So that's why it's always preferable, advisable, grammatically correct, and also the intention will be given correctly because we are in two different ideas, okay? Sometimes when we speak, we don't have to create the pause in some of the sentences that we say. If you are saying a sentence and you like to emphasize very strongly what you're saying, right? You are going to make a pause with however, and then you're going to say it. If it is less important and you just like to make a point on what you're saying, probably you're going to say, in this kind of situations, however, are very important to be considered. And this kind of situations are, however, very important to be considered, those two forms. But you're not really emphasizing because you're not strongly contradicting. Do I make myself clear for you?
So what you're trying to say is that depends on me if I use the commas or not.
What I try to explain is that depends on the sentences in terms of the pause that you are creating, the emphasis that you are giving to the next sentence, and to be phonetically correct also.
Okay, thank you.
What I want you to do is write down these connectors. Write, however, in addition, write down, please. However, in addition, besides,
hence,
on the other hand, those four connectors. What I would like you to do is you have to send me from now till Monday a paragraph, it's short paragraph. Recreate one idea, any idea that will have some development, some argument, and you need to use these four connectors in your idea so that I can see if you're using it correctly, okay? Now, don't forget to do this. Who is your teacher?
You.
Nicole, okay? So I will also tell Nicole to have this done. And if I have not received anything till Monday, I will tell Nicole that also needs to remind you to send me this, okay? We need to check it. We need to check that it's correctly used. That's important, all right? So it's not just, sometimes things that you already know, we work on advices. But when we don't know that you really know how to work with it, you need to demonstrate that you have understood this. How? By sending us a practice. Basically that. We need to check that is correct. Good. Someone else.
I think I can use what have been said already and adding my corrections. For example, I can say, nowadays, no one can deny that holidays are needed by any of us instead of everyone.
Perfect.
Using then ing taking vacations during summer or during winter is preferred by a remarkable percentage of people. Whereas there are certainly some people that will choose winter as a better option.
That sounds good. Good. Excellent. Someone else? See, what you have to do is you need to dedicate some time. Some of you already had the Lexical Resources class when we give you a handbook, right? With some exercises in which you need to apply quality, intention, and vocabulary. You cannot forget that work. Your teacher is going to ask you, and I, when it's my chance to see it, ask you also for that. Especially when we enter phase 2, the second part of the preparation, where you must increase your score. So we are going to ask you for those. I'm going to ask you, where is your passive voice in here? Where is the better vocabulary? Where is the higher intention? For example, what about our definitely needed? See, definitely. That can be also definitely. That can be also something that is not only needed, is definitely needed. So we are adding that intention and we are making that intention stronger. What about, I think you said that or someone, I don't know. Taking, ing, taking winter vacations, taking, right? It's another word within ing that is also increasing using a verbal noun. That is also going to increase that. Summer will be undoubtedly can also be an option. The best choice or the best choice. What about the best opportunity?
I have a suggestion there.
Excuse me?
I have a suggestion on that phrase. While for others, summer is the option that fulfill their desires the most.
That's a very good option because that's fulfilled their desires the most. You're actually using the superlative form. So that's also using not only adjective, but also the superlative form of the sentence. Fulfill, you're using a higher vocabulary word. So you are working in these two aspects of quality. Okay, very good, very good. Anybody else? We are already in the lexical resources part. So from 8 o'clock, we started working on improving this lexical resources. We are going to do this for the next 5 minutes because we need to check some grammar in some of the writing. So, anyone else?
I also have a suggestion on the, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I have a suggestion also on the last paragraph, or I mean for the last part of the paragraph. That would be, I consider summertime to be my choice of election for this comparison. I will have a higher number of options to choose about what to do. Or what, I would change the do, but I don't know what word would fit there.
Which word in terms of? What's
to choose about what to do. I mean, I changed almost the whole part, but
that's good. That's good. I think it's well chosen. You add in a longer sentence with the same intention, but actually is with a better sentence construction. It's a longer sentence construction. It's a longer, you add in more complexity to the sentence. You're in a sentence that is longer, but it needs more words, more forms to express itself, which actually increases complexity. Now, we have to be careful with complexity. I mean, it doesn't have to be too complex. That is going to start being confusing, right? But complex enough to add more words to the sentence that are self-explanatory in the way that we like to express our idea. Okay?
Mauricio, it's a good idea to start open phrase with perhaps, because I know when I speak, I can use that word, but when I write, it's a good idea. For example, yes, perhaps no one can deny that the holidays are really or definitely needed for everyone.
Yes,
It's
that's
like
correct.
simple.
That's correct. That's correct. The idea is the following. The idea is that you need to feel free without fear. You need to feel free without, in this part of your preparation, right? This part of the preparation is the moment that you have to use in order to feel free and let things out and let work. You are going to commit mistakes. You will be. I mean, you will certainly commit mistakes. I mean, you can be sure that it's going to happen. But we need those mistakes because working with those mistakes and correcting those mistakes and giving you our own advices, then you are going to become better at changing these aspects for good. And hopefully your writing will start being better each time that you do the writing. There is an important aspect to consider here. And I want you to pay a lot of attention in what I'm going to write. Okay, so this is not Síntoma IELTS. We have finished Síntoma IELTS. I didn't really see a lot of symptoms, all right? So none of you really gave me a lot of feedback about what was really costly in terms of strategies, parts that were difficult for you. Therefore, I will be expecting next week 7s in the listening, 7.5s in the reading, 7s in the writings. I will consult with the teachers if those results are given. Because if you're not really increasing your score, it's because you're not either studying the strategies or dedicating enough time to work on this. We are serious on this. You must improve your score in the listening, in all parts, reading, writing, and speaking. You must do it. This is the reason why we're here. Okay? When you finish your preparation, you will continue with me. And I will ask your teacher, what is the score you started with? To see if after all this week, you have improved. If you have not improved, then Síntoma IELTS will have to be applied regardless to improve the score. I want to see changes. I want to see improvement. If I don't see any single passive voice in your writing, something is wrong. It's either us or you, or both. But we have to go over it, and we need to improve it. Okay, that's important. Nothing personal, okay? So I'm just doing my job. But yeah, sometimes I get like, you're too serious. No, I'm not serious. I'm just doing my work. You know, I do this with passion. I like it and I love it. And I don't know. I always like everyone to improve their scores. That's prior. Okay, so now.
Just one comment, Mauricio.
Yes.
In my experience, the last experience, Germán, you know, the last example about some people believe that and other people believe that in my last test, that structure appeared in my test. So it's real this example, yeah, and useful because okay, my score was 6, so there are many tricks that I forgot, and repeating again, yes, it's true.
The question was discuss both views.
Excuse me?
Was the question discuss both views in the last?
Exactly. No, it's the same. Just the people believe that the tradition will be changed. Other people consider that the tradition would be preserved. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, yeah, and I forgot a little bit, so I guess for that, in my score was 6 in writing section. Yes,
exactly. So it is also important. Now, Germán's example is the best part that we can see in just this 5 minutes. So let's take a look. Germán took a 6. When Germán actually was given higher scores in his preparation probably, right? So what happened? So what can happen is basically we forgot to emphasize or we forgot to be leveled in the things that we do in the writing. So we need to keep it, we need to pay attention and we need to keep in mind always the 4 rubrics of the test. The first one is coherence and cohesion, right? Then the second we know that is grammar. And then the second and the third is lexical resources. And then we have finally the task achievement, which we call completion. Well, we need to complete everything. So one of the things that might happen with Germán could be in these options. First, was he coherent? See? Was he really answering what was asked? Or his ideas were actually incoherent? The unity. The unity will help us a lot to keep the unity of what we have expressed in the introduction need to be united, or the sentences that are in the argument need to point out directly to those sentences that are the thesis or the reason that I just wrote in the introduction. So we need to keep that unity. That makes us coherent, number one. Second, the cohesion. Was you really progressing correctly? Usually, yes. As long as you have a structure and you apply that structure, you are going to be progressively correct. So the cohesion will be fine. Now, what about the grammar? Did Germán study? See, remember the error report or remember the homework that we give you to study your grammar? Did Germán really remember, or does Germán already know and memorize his 15 grammar mistakes that usually commit? Did he study those 15 grammar mistakes so that when he finished each paragraph in the writing, he just remembered to go back and check them? Probably not. Now, what about the Lexical Resources paper? What about that full Lexical Resources class that we have? Probably some of you does not have it yet, right? Because you still, maybe in a couple more classes you'll have. But there is a Lexical Resources 7 class. It's the Lexical Resources class where we teach you to improve the quality of the writing, the intentions of your sentences, and the vocabulary in terms of higher vocabulary. Did Germán have time actually to do this? Probably not. So we're talking about quality. We're talking about intention, right? And we're talking about vocabulary. Did he do that? Did he complete the test? Probably he did. Probably he did. He did, but incorrectly, with some faults. Therefore, here is a big part of it. And as we measure this by 25%, 25%, 25%, and 25%, we know that if we really did not do good or do well in these two areas, so that score will really be diminished strongly. Very much. So we really need to develop we really need to develop a style. We need to develop a style. When we ask you to send us a writing, before you send us those two writing, the writing test 1 and the writing test 2, you have to practice for at least 3-4 hours with all the 2, 3, or 4 writings. You cannot only do 2 writing per week. That's not going to work. You need to do 3, 4, 5 writing per week. And you need to send the 2 that you feel, more insecure about. That is the key. And that is important to apply. So this kind of observation is what Germán will have to have next time he takes the example. And I will see to that. I will make sure that happens now. So that is important to keep in mind. You need to be self-aware of what is happening with your writing. You need the tool. We are giving you a tool for you to use it and become more in control, because this cannot happen. You need to know your grammar mistakes. You need to know, did Nicole give you the error report? She probably has already. All right. Are you working with the error report already? If you're not, how can we expect to have a higher score? So this is the map, and this is the map that you need to always remember. This is, okay, forget about this 6. Herman, you know what happens, right?
Yes, Mauricio.
Basically, right? So we're going to have to work very hard right now. The next writing cannot have the same mistake that I have your writing, okay? I have your writings. So that the next writing, you either do the error report and get ready for the next writing, but the next writing that you send me cannot have the same mistakes. This is important. I mean, let's say that you did the first writing. This is writing 1. This is the first writing that you did. You have mistakes everywhere. Now, the writing number 2 should have different kinds of mistakes that might be different or fewer than the mistakes that you had in here. By writing number 3, then you should have only just a few mistakes, newer mistakes, or fewer than the mistakes that you had in this one. After 6 writing that you have submitted to your teacher, you cannot have more grammar mistakes. Otherwise, something is wrong. If you are working in your mistakes, it is your responsibility not to commit them again. Otherwise, you guess what is the score that we are going to have. If you feel insecure with your writing, if there is something that is troubling you, tell me, tell us. Look, I'm not improving this mistake. You understand it? Yes, I understand it. Well, let's see if you understand it. We give you a homework to see if you really understand that mistake. And if you realize that you don't understand the mistake, we need to back you up with this. We need to work on something, strategies, homework, repetition if you do. If you will, that happens sometimes, in order for you to improve it. So that's very important. This is absolutely crucial. That is why the error report was created. Yes?
I have been practicing, and I send you an email because I want that you correct my writing, because I feel that I did my best. And I have been working in my error, and I need that, for example, if you correct, you can tell me, yes, but I don't know, you are repeating this error, or this mistake, because when I was beginning, I prefer practicing vocabulary or something like that. But no, if we begin with a writing, just one and after another and another, the vocabulary is going to improve itself.
Half true, okay? The vocabulary will improve itself as you keep writing and as you keep looking into, I mean, the vocabulary will, what is going to happen is you are going to refresh some words that are already stored in your mind, all right?
Yes.
But that will be an improvement in terms of better use and just remembering, but it's not going to be an improvement in terms of having a higher vocabulary. To have a higher vocabulary, you need to start working with the website, okay? With the IELTS net website, and check the sample writing that they are there. I'm going to show you, everyone, if you like to start working with this, you should. However, ask your teacher first to see if this is what your teacher is going to give you. I don't want to give you a homework that then one of the teachers is going to tell me, why are you doing that? I mean, I told you not to do it. No, ask your teacher first if that wouldn't be appropriate for you. I'm not doing something that is going to come across or is going to interrupt that the teacher is doing with you. I'm not doing that. I'm giving you an extra work, okay? And I always tell the teachers every single week when we get together, when we have the meeting, I always tell them what I did in the class. So they know already what we do. They will know next meeting, they will know what we did today. So for instance, see, this is the modal answers are the ones that we need to concentrate for vocabulary. And you are going to read by sentences. So you are going to concentrate in specific sentences, especially those from older generations. Generation, that's a good word, generations, okay? And then another sentence that will be here. Feel that modern types of music can be more harmful than positive, see? Can be is then interacting with then an adjective. That's another good form of increasing our or having better lexical resources. So this is IELTSexam.net. Absolutely, absolutely super recommendable, and actually the one that you really need to check in order to learn vocabulary. So why you should check this website to learn vocabulary? Because in this website, all the topics and all the real topics of the IELTS are present, which are 6 different topics. IELTS will cover 6 different topics, and this is the website to check for those topics, okay? There are like daily life topic, contemporary life. I mean, it's like working from home, video games, something similar, natural talent and training, education, health, technology, health, contemporary life, I mean, daily life, education, environment, daily life, contemporary life, technology, contemporary life, health, right? Education, health and education. Violence is also education. Therefore, you see that the topics will never change. And as the topics are the same, reading these exercises, pay attention, reading these exercises will actually boost, right? Will foster a stronger vocabulary storage, because the topics are very, very similar with one another. They're not so different between themselves. Therefore, it's a very good choice to increase your vocabulary, to start learning vocabulary from these sentences. But concentrating the sentences, see, in other words, that's a very good connector, right? It's a connectivity phrase, right? In other words, it's a connectivity phrase. Here, inherited. See, now we have the passive voice. Now, let's take a look at this sentence right here. This sentence has 3 elements that are crucial. Crucial. First, the passive voice. Are inherited. Passive voice. Right? That's a passive voice. Inherited. Higher vocabulary. Okay? And also, we have the word in the middle of the passive voice, which is probably. And that will be then the adverb of the verb. Therefore, those 3 elements makes this phrase, right, really powerful in terms of lexical resources. And this is the way that you learn. Learn how this person is using these forms. And learn how these words, and learn some vocabulary of these words that can be used in other parts of the writing. Nurture, that can be used in many forms, in many kind of topics, okay? That neither nor. See, he using this neither, And the conjunction of that is nor. That's also then applying a conjunction. Using the modal here. Vocabulary, modal, vocabulary. And for example, how can you improve this sentence? The child will not learn how to exploit and develop their whatever talent maybe. What can we add in here? What about develop? That's a verb. What about an adverb before develop?
Definitely,
Definitely to how to deeply exploit and develop. To deeply exploit, deeply. That's an adverb. So we really need to practice with these exercises. And this website is one of the best platforms to do that. So I just gave a big round of applause to the owner of this website because he has put this information and all this practice to us to improve ourselves. So that's important to take a look. So all these concepts are important. You need to empower yourself. You need to stop looking to yourself like you are only a student. If you see yourself only as a student all the time, you will be always vulnerable. You need to take responsibility and you need to believe that you're not a student really, that you are an expert. And you need to keep developing that expertise because you are a journalist. You are an expert of a company who writes articles for the company or for any kind of a specific organization. All right. So that is important that we consider. We need to consider that, and we need to refresh all these concepts and become more powerful in what you do. This is your responsibility. This is your responsibility. Okay? And I will remind you that when I see that this will be the same as this one, if you don't change this reality to this one and you are aware that then guess what is the score is going to be. So what happened to Germán, right? What happened to him? And you probably, the mistakes that we wrote in here are just very, very close to what really happened. And he knows it. So now we need to develop and we need to make sure that it's going to do the right work in order for him to be more in control. Learn your mistakes. You need to know what your mistakes are. That is why the error report. All right? Now, where can we find our error report? Wonderful. Error report is in our YouTube channel. When you go to YouTube channel, see, when you go to our YouTube channel, you are going to see a lot of information that is useful. You have grammar classes. You have grammar mistakes, questions from students. Some tips, questions from students. This is only questions from students. It's like 1 hour of questions from students. I was bombarded by questions. And then 3 aspects to look for in training the listening. False and not given. Maybe some of you haven't seen yet the reading strategies, but when you see it, then you know that you have this resource material. But what I like to emphasize right now, see more grammar classes, 3 grammar classes, doubts from students. There's a lot of information. The error report. This is another video. The error report is your platform to improve your mistakes. If you understand your mistakes and you complete the error report, there is no other option than just improving. I mean, nothing else is going to happen but improving. So it is important to remember our mistakes. You need to know your mistakes. Okay? That was then the next class. Next Friday, we are going to continue with this work. We are going to keep improving. And we are going to develop. Now, any question that Is there any question that you'd like to ask regarding the part of lexical resources, grammar mistakes? Is there something that you're feeling that you're not improving in your writing and you'd like to improve it, or you need some extra work to do it? What else can we do for you right now, right? That I can give you right now, homework, for you to, on something that is being difficult for you?
Mauricio, I have some problems related with the listening part. In general, it's not a specific part of the listening skills.
Okay, good.
I haven't improved my score.
You haven't?
I haven't.
What is your score right now? If you can, if you don't like to say it, it's okay.
No, it's okay for me. It's 5.5.
Good. Now, question number one: Are you trying to translate some of the sentences or words that you are listening?
No, not really.
Not
I just try to listen and try to understand the context of the speaking.
Of the speech. Okay, good, excellent. So we are safe. Usually 5.5 is flat all the time, means that we're trying to translate. What's one of the things that happens usually sometimes. Okay, this is the listening. If you're trying to translate, or some of you is trying to translate in the listening, you have to let me know. Okay, because then we need to cut that process. We need to cut it in order to access to higher scores in the listenings. If you keep trying to translate some of the sentences that you listen, you're never gonna get over 5.5, never, okay? That's suspect number one. Number two, how many listenings have you done?
Oh, already 4 or 5.
Okay, 5 listenings. All right. Now, while you are doing these listenings, see, we went back to Síntoma IELTS now. See, it's like we are now in the symptoms. Now, while you were listening those audios, could you say that from the first listening that you did to the last listening that you performed, is there any kind of difference in terms of understanding a little more?
Well, actually, to be honest, I use once and try to understand at the first time, because it's the mechanic of the IELTS test, you know. But I haven't proved to repeat many times the speech.
Okay. Now, if you listen to the sentence in a global way, for example, if you are listening to that talk, did you understand more or less what they are globally talking about?
Yes, I can understand. I totally can understand what they say.
That's it.
Also, sometimes I apply the strategies and I say, come on, the keyword, they will let me know the answer after that. And I keep listening, but I can obtain or get it the answer.
So what you're gonna have to do from now is you need to start concentrating first, and you have to do this for the next 2 weeks, okay? You need to dedicate a half hour, 1 hour, as long as you can. It doesn't have to be like 2 or 3 hours. So like a half hour, between 15 minutes and a half hour every day, or 1 hour every 2 days, right? If you don't have time every day. And what you have to concentrate is first, trying to understand. You need to do 3 things. You are going to select listenings. I'm going to show you which listenings you are going to select, okay? We are going to do it in 2 phases. First, we are going to work on this first step. Second, in 2 more weeks, we are going to start, but you have to follow this. Because in 2 more weeks, if you haven't done this, this is not gonna work. The next step is not gonna work, but you're gonna have to do this. We're gonna do these 3 steps this week. And then in 2 more weeks, we are going to apply reading and listening at the same time at a higher speed and working with what I'm going to put here, the imagination, but we are going to apply that imagination in a different form. So step number 1, you need to apply some, I'm going to give you the listenings. I'm going to show you which you are going to work with. Trying to imagine what you are listening. Try to imagine. The problem right now is that you are concentrating too much in the words. Number one, you are concentrating too much that this is English, right? Second, you are concentrating too much in the words, in trying to understand the words. Number three, you are becoming blocked because the two first things are not working. Therefore, we are becoming an intrinsic like blockage there that is difficult to really overcome, okay? But this is normal. This is normal that happens. Therefore, we are in the place we have to be. So imagine what you are listening. This is very important. Why it is important to imagine what we are listening at this point? Because we are given the right signals, the correct signal to the audition. The audition is very well accustomed. Our audition is accustomed to work together with our imagination. When we listen to something, we automatically imagine it. The process is so fast that we don't really realize it consciously. However, the process has been done every single time we just hear or listen to something or someone, okay? So try to imagine. When you try to imagine, you let the system not to worry too much now that this is English, that this is a test, that these are words in English. You are giving the correct signal to your system to start doing the same that it does in Spanish. Believe this. Do you think this subjective thing is really real? 20 years of experience, more than 9,000 students tell me yes. Okay, so it's all profiles, not the same, but they're very similar. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing, you are going to concentrate in trying to catch verbs. Try to catch the verbs, the actions, okay? Concentrate in understanding the actions or characteristics. Now, what do I mean by this? As you really understand, you say, I believe you, as you really say and you really understand what you said, because you said it, did you understand the English like globally? Do you understand what they mean when they are speaking in the English? Yeah, I understand it. That's it. That's all I needed to know. Because that means that you understand this, the actions that have been said, and also the characteristics that they're given. One more than the others, probably the actions better than the characteristics. Understanding characteristics is more subjective than understanding actions because the verbs are more actually visual. And the characteristics are more like conceptual, all right? So that's important to understand. Now, as you understand globally, you need to start trying to understand this more specifically. So what I'm going to give you as a homework, you need to try to understand now, or you need to start increasing the understanding in which are the words that make you understand the sentence. Therefore, you need to try to catch up with verbs and adjectives. So the problem is that you're not really you don't really know what you're listening to. And this is what you need to learn now. You need to start trying to learn, and every time that you listen to an action or a verb, imagine it. Imagine yourself, imagine someone else, imagine someone or something realizing that action. So that's the first thing, right? That's important. So those things, so you play the audio, you try to just Put yourself into that situation. You're living there. You can close your eyes in the beginnings. If you close your eyes, that is going to make your imagination work better. When you open your eyes, or when you have your eyes open, your imagination does not work as well as if you have your eyes closed. So in the beginning, in the first week, you can just close your eyes. Make sure that you are not operating machinery, that you are not crossing a street, you are not utilizing any kind of vehicle when you do this. I know that it might sound ridiculous what I'm saying, but I'm just reminding you to be safe in the moment you close your eyes to work on this. Because as you are working on this, your full attention will actually go there. And you will have no awareness of the external, of the external world, like, see? So in your room, sitting on the bus or underground, when you know you are safe, you do that. You can do this with your earphones or headphones. So that's the first thing that you do when you start imagining, is start concentrating on this. And let me see what is going to work better. Okay. Every 5 minutes, you're going to stop, right? To stop the recording. And you will try to remember one of the concepts, one of the actions or characteristic that was said, and you are going to give your opinion about that. Mentally. Don't speak, see? Otherwise, you will be changing just mentally try to listen to yourself, mentally, right? Try to listen to your voice. So after 5 minutes, just stop the recording and listen to yourself, right? Like, oh, I don't think that is true because this is going to be not good for society. And I don't think it's a good idea. I don't really agree with this person. But try to listen to your voice. Listen. This sounds weird, but it's true, awkward, but it's true, right? What you are going to, when you listen to yourself without speaking, see, you need to listen only to yourself, don't speak, then you are thinking. You are impulsing the system of thinking. So if you want to think faster, first talk to yourself, imagine your voice. This is the beginning of the thinking process, all right? So that's what we are going to do. You are going to stop every 5 minutes and listen to your own opinion about some of the words, ideas I'm going to fix this, okay? I'm sorry about this. This was very improved. I mean, very like, I just put this, I should put this on the wall, but I'm going to do it next time. So stop every 5 minutes and listen to your own opinion about some of the words or ideas that were in the audio. It doesn't have to be from your heart. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I really found nothing that could really give my opinion to, because I actually don't care. No, I mean, you need to look for something that you can just play with. You need to play with something. You need to relate to one of the situations. It's important because then you're going to be more in some ways you are going to gain property. See, you're going to have something to say. So what are we doing, and what are the things that we're doing with this? And this is Síntoma IELTS, actually. We just came back to Síntoma IELTS. In time, you're going to start understanding what Síntoma IELTS is in the overall. It's very extensive, but it's very effective. First, we are going to start giving the right signal to our thinking process, number one, okay? Second, we are going to concentrate on connecting to the real words that give the message when we listen to something, but now we know what we're doing, see? So this is important that you are learning how to learn. See, you are learning. I'm giving you tools for you to become more sustainable yourself when you do this. And so this is going to be about thinking in the right, giving the right signal to give the right direction to the process of perception, then to concentrate on trying to then, as you understand the global concepts, now you need to start trying to identify the specific things that are giving you that global concept. That is IELTS. And then you're going to stop every 5 minutes to try to give your opinion into something of this. Now, this is called involvement. You are becoming involved in what you are listening to. So you are not really taking things or looking things from the outside. And that is the problem. When we listen to something and we're not involved in the listening, we have that problem. We take too much time to become connected because we're not involved. Now you become yourself involved. You think, oh, I have to give my opinion about this. See? And you can play, you can let your imagination just fly on this, right? So as you say, oh, I have to give my opinion over 100 people that are going to listen to what I have to say about this listening. See, you can engage in a sort of like hacking system. So your mind thinks and truly believes that you need to give a speech about this after that. So it's going to start paying more attention now, automatically, all right? Why automatically? Because you are compromising all the parts of this. You are compromising your ego, right? Because the ego now will be like, oh, I don't want to, be ridiculous, and that's it. So the ego is there. The ego, your ego will want to understand really well because he has to give a talk later on, all right? And he wants to give a good impression. So we can use the ego, in our favor as well, okay? But this is just for these purposes only, okay? Good. So I hope you start doing that. Give yourself 2 weeks, and 2 more weeks, you let me know how it's working. However, you have done only 4 to 5 tests. Ideally, the results in the listenings start being stronger after like 8, 9, 10 tests. After 10 listenings, if you have not seen improvements, something is going wrong. However, with this work that you give yourself, something should start improving. Especially, don't do too many listenings now. So you don't like do test after test, test after test. Concentrate more on this, all right? You can check listenings. You can do some listenings. You can do the listenings that you're doing with the exercises that are sent, right? That we sent you, or you can do this over YouTube. You can go to YouTube channels. You can go to, for instance, you can also, for example, like IELTS 5 listening. IELTS 5 is a Cambridge book. We really, in order to do the paper test, it is recommended to work with this. In order to do the computer test, it's good to practice with this just for listening purposes, but not to practice with the test, because you need to practice with the computer practice test, because you are going to do the computer test. So you want to practice with the computer test. But in order to do this work, IELTS 5 and IELTS 6 are perfect examples, because they are slightly more difficult than the rest of the IELTS. Listening test 1, listening test 2, listening test
4.
Yes.
What's the difference between the 5 and 6?
Just, the difference is just there is more material, that's all. And over the years, some of them will be more Some of them will be more updated than others. For instance, some of them would include some aspects related to social media, not in depth, but at least some aspect that can touch the concepts of social media probably.
So IELTS 6 should be more updated?
At least more updated than IELTS 1. I think it's IELTS 1.
IELTS 6 is this last one. I won't be able to find a 7.
I think the last one is IELTS. I don't know, really. I mean, I really ignore that. I think the last one is IELTS 12 or 13, somewhere like that, somewhere there. You can go to Cambridge and check the, if you go to cambridge.org.
And why do you recommend 5 and 6?
Because as far as I know, right, 5 and 6 are more difficult than 7, 8, and 9, the ones I know. Those are the only ones I know. And because 7, 8, and 9 are more likely too close to the real test. So probably they are too close to the real test. They're like the complexity and the level of vocabulary and everything, it's pretty close to the real test. But then IELTS 5 and 6 are with a bit of higher vocabulary. They speak a bit faster. Therefore, they are more complex than the real test. Those are the ones you want to do. That is why. That's the only reason. Now, then what I do recommend you to work with is with this then. Okay? Let's start listening to this.
In order to buy a house one day. The same studies have found that men, on the other hand, tend to save for a car, which, by the way, takes a surprisingly large amount of the household budget in North America. But the other main priority for men when saving money is their...
Saving money, that was a verb. Okay. Well, actually it wasn't a verb and noun, but it's actually talking about the action of putting money aside to have it later.
Retirement. When they're earning, they're far more likely to put money aside for their old age than
women. All right, that's, I don't know why. I never thought I was going to say the same, but anyway. Yeah, it was very logic. I mean, this works a lot with logic also. I mean, things are very logical sometimes.
Now, this is rather disturbing because, in fact, the need for women to save for their old age is far greater than for men. Let's consider this for a moment.
Now, as you can see then, when you do this exercise, you're going to pay attention to then the sentences, and you're going to pay attention that within those sentences, there are some pauses. He stops, he continues, but that is not what I'm going to give you right now. Who was, I just didn't see who was asking this question. I mean, but don't worry about the transitions yet. Don't worry about how they go and how we separate those sentences. I mean, we don't worry about the words that they use as transition of the sentences, okay? Like but, connectors, pauses, expressions. We don't worry about that yet. What I want you to do is potentiate these three aspects first. That's first. First is first, and we can work into transitions and more technical forms of the listening later. But first is becoming, have the right mindset and audition a perspective to improve it. That's first, all right? Now let's take a look of something that is interesting. You can do this also. If you like to accelerate the listening, you can also do it.
Let's look at what men and women actually save for.
1.5.
Research studies of women in North America have found that women are far more likely to save for their children's education.
Maybe it's too fast. 125.
And they are also more likely to save up in order to buy a house one day. The same studies have found that men, on the other hand, tend to save for a car, which, by the way, takes a surprisingly large amount of the household budget in North America. But the other main priority for men when saving money is their retirement. These days, people might question a lot of the assumptions contained in those statements. Recent research does suggest that there are some quite fundamental differences between men and women in their attitudes to economic matters. Let's look at what men and women actually save for. Research studies of women in North America have found that women are far more likely to save for their children's education, and they are also more likely to save up in order to buy a house one day.
There you go. Now, what you're doing is, if you like, you can do this, okay? So for 1 minute, like for 1 or 2 minutes, speed up, right? And then just go back to normal. And then you're going to see the difference. And these things, this is the most important. These things are going to make more sense to you. So when you speed up the listening and you try to work with this, and then you just slow down the listening and you try to do this, this will make more sense and you are going to start understanding better. So working with a speed and using a speed, faster, slower, faster, slower. Don't ever go slower than normal, never. Normal is the slowest, okay? Because it's not for you, because you understand everything. So when you understand generally what you are listening, you cannot go lower than normal anymore. This is kind of exercises for people who actually have really trouble trying to understand something in the listening. Then you work at a lower speed. Okay, good. So I hope that helps. In 2 weeks, let me know. Now we are going to practice some speaking because it's kind of like speaking time. So don't worry. I mean, if there's something, write me up an email, ask your teacher. And also next Friday, we will keep working in these 3-part classes in which we are going to keep improving, changing, improving, making things better. Okay? So it's going to work. Now, let's do some speaking practice. That's important to work with now. All right. I am going to write some connectors. We are going to concentrate on the use of connectors. And this is also something you can do at home. You can record yourself. When you record yourself, then you become more aware of your mistakes. This is something very important to do. There are a lot of forms we can do it. There are a lot of forms that we can improve. But today we are concentrating on this one. Next class, next Friday, we concentrate on something else. Okay? But today, let's work on lexical resources more than anything else. Maybe next class, we work on mistakes. But today, let's work on lexical resources, improving the. However, nevertheless, nonetheless. This is when we like to make exceptions or when we like to give opposite statements. Okay, so that's important. Opposite, what is an exception? Oh, I like sports. However, I haven't been able to do it within the last months. That's an exception. It's not an opposite statement. It's just an exception. An opposite, I like to do sports. However, right now, I'm not capable of doing it because I broke a leg. I broke one of my legs. Okay, that's something opposite. I mean, it's not really an exception. It's something that I cannot really do it. It's like different than just not having time. Not having, I can make myself some time. I just came, after this class, I can just go and run. Even though I have other things to do, but I just can't do it. But not with my broken leg. So that's different. And then, for instance, same is for example, when you like to give an example, right? Yes?
For instance, to illustrate are synonymous. Are you asking for synonymous?
To illustrate, it's a bit too formal for the speaking.
Oh, okay. Got it.
To illustrate is maybe it's a bit too formal. For instance, that sounds good. Therefore, then, thus, then. On the other hand, yeah, this is more for opposite. On the other hand, this will not be good in summertime. Weather was good for wintertime. See, it's like on the other hand. Then am I forgetting? So we have exceptions, exemplifications, cause and effect, opposition, besides, additionally. All right, so let's practice with those. We're not gonna feel too much with it. Okay, let's practice with those. What I want you to do is, I am going to give you a question and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think about an answer, and you need to use one of this, all right? Now the question is, let's just start with something simple. Do you practice sports? Do you practice sports? I'll be right back. 2 minutes. Good, who's first? You're not obliged to speak. If you don't feel like speaking right now, you don't
have to be a long one or a short phrase.
Excuse me?
Does it have to be a short phrase or a long one?
It's your choice. It's your choice. Okay. Let's make it like part 1. It would be like 30 seconds approximately.
30 seconds.
That's basically 3 sentences.
Can I
3, 4 sentences. Yes.
Okay. I used to practice sport.
Stop. M. I think I already gave you this advice before, okay? That is a Spanish thought process.
Okay.
An English thought process. What is a thought process? Is the moment in which your brain is transforming the thought into language. So that M is the moment in which you're thinking, right? The moment of transformation into the language. So that is A.
Okay. I I used to practice sport, specifically karate. However, I had to stop because I was working in other priorities. For instance, working, studying English for the IELTS. Therefore, it became more difficult. Nonetheless, I would like to continue.
Sounds good. Now, one piece of advice. Are you too tense right now? I mean, when you speak.
Yes, I was scared. I was scared.
Yes, that is noticeable. That is noticeable, and when you speak, that is noticeable.
Okay.
Because that vibration is the signal of a tense muscle. When you tense your muscles, that tension is also felt in the in the vibration of the voice. So you have some vibration. An examiner will easily spot this. So probably, even though it's not in the rubrics, it's affecting your fluency and also your pronunciation. So that's something that we have to try to stretch yourself, like hug yourself very hard, like, and then stretch yourself, and then you relax, breathe deeply, and then you speak. So that's a good exercise before you start doing it.
Okay.
One thing. I know that you're worrying about the use of the connector, but the better you start. Some of you have not seen the strategy of the speaking yet. Okay, you are going to see it in your classes, but while you feel better with the strategy, then start worrying more about what you are communicating. Okay, so start thinking more in what you are communicating. Involve yourself in the talk. That's going to make you more in control, more powerful, more confident, and everything. Okay, let's continue. Next, good work.
I can develop one.
Let's do it.
Okay, so currently I have been practicing mountain biking. However, since the lockdown, I haven't been riding on the weekends. Nonetheless, I have tried to look for alternatives. For instance, the weeks after work is the best time to take my bike and go to practice some biking. Therefore, I won't be losing my skills when the lockdown is over, and I can come back to the mountains again in the weekends. That's it.
On the other hand, if I did not do this, I wouldn't be able to blah, 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 blah. See? Like that
skills.
Yeah, like an opposite statement. I'm just complimenting what you did. Good work. Just giving you one of you, but that was good enough. Okay. Well done. Next.
I'll try. Yes, I usually practice basketball. However, 2 months ago, my knee was hurt. Therefore, I have to stop doing sports for a while.
Yes, good. Now, did you watch the movie The Matrix? Remember this movie? Yes. The Matrix.
Yes, I did.
You know what the bald kid tells Neo? Bending this kid was bending the spoon, right? Like there is no spoon. Like same saying, like there is no try. So don't try, just do it. All right. That was just apart from it. So don't worry about it. Next, good work. Well done. So you practice this, record yourself, try to start using these connectors with the questions of the IELTS. Okay. Who's next? Who wants to be next?
Me. Okay. Currently, I don't practice sports because time is not enough for that. However, in the past, I have been playing different kinds of sports such as tennis, basketball, and swimming. Additionally, a few years ago, I used to go running.
Good. Now, just a pause, all right? Well done. You're going to have to practice with these connectors for next week. all right? Remember that if your teacher tells you that it's not appropriate for you to do it, you don't do it. Right now, if you are in classes with any of the teachers, right? He or she is the boss right now. I'm not the boss, okay? I am not. Remember that I'm doing the fun work. You know, I'm just doing this. I'm improving, helping, laughing, talking with you, teaching you things, remembering you things, all right? Or reminding you things. But then your teacher is the boss right now. So if the teacher says, for instance, oh, I think you need to start working more in vocabulary than connectors. That's what you're going to have to do. This is only for practice. Now, I'm sure that your teacher will tell you, okay, if you practice this first, then you can do what Mauricio is telling you, all right? But right now, your emphasis is in this because your teacher right now knows you better than I do. When you finish with your teacher, when your phase 1 and phase 2 are done, then you are with me. And then I will take care of some things that the teacher is not going to be able to be taking care of you because I'm going to be with you. Because our relationship is until you take the test. So I will be able to see some things that are happening, and I'm going to refresh on those. But right now, in the speaking part, not in all the other parts, in the speaking part, it's whatever your teacher tells you, that's the first priority. And then this, all right? So remember that. But you still need to work on this. There will be the time that you're going to have to get to this point anyways. So that's good. Next class, we are going to work on trying to add some lexical resources. Next class, we are going to work with the passive voice, okay? I am going to give you 10 different starters. What is a starter? A starter is a form that you use it always in the same way, but can be applied in any kind of topic. For instance, perhaps it is well seen that, perhaps it is well seen as a passive voice. Certainly, it has to be acknowledged that it has to be acknowledged, passive voice. So then I'm going to give you 10 different starters that are going to be very useful when you give the talk in the beginning. Because using the passive voice when you are already speaking is kind of difficult. Probably for part 2, you are going to have more time to realize an idea with the passive voice, but not in part 1, not in part 3. It's difficult just to come up with passive voice. However, this is the way we are going to practice it. So that's something that we are going to do next class. Today is connectors. However, next class, you must use connectors. You must use them because we are already seeing this today. Next. Let's go. We got a half hour.
Can I be the next?
Anyone?
Okay, got it. Okay, I must say that sports are definitely required by people, especially in these days. And I really like to practice sports. For instance, I like to riding my bike, swimming, or between others. However, I broke my leg, for instance. Therefore, I cannot do. I have to rest. On the other hand, I strongly advise to you to take care when you practice some sports, and additionally, use equipment, self-care equipment. That's my recommend for you if you are going to practice some sports.
Very good. Now, did you mention on the other hand, because you wanted to emphasize that even though you had an accident from which you broke your leg, you still need to practice sports? I mean, was that on the other hand, just to emphasize something that it was a little bit contradictory with the accident? Say yes. If you don't say yes, then we get into trouble. But was it that basically, right? I mean, was it the idea? Because On the other hand, is something that contradicts what you were saying before. I understood that you use on the other hand to try to lower the negative impact that the previous situation had, the accident, to emphasize that you still need to be aware, but do sports anyway. Was that the idea?
No, it was not the idea. But the idea was like the sports are good for you and are required for people, and that by this you can still continue doing sports, but you have to take care of you when you practice on a sport. That was the principle, the main idea of the other hand.
It's exactly what I was telling you, but in different words. Yes, is what I was saying.
On the other word.
What I was saying is to although the previous emphasize that you have to be careful, but you have to do it anyways. It's the same idea, but probably I did not express myself correctly.
Oh, I didn't understand the rest.
That's exactly what you were saying. Yes. Good work. Excellent. So now I know that you are going to always use connectors in our practices. Next, please. I just wait. That doesn't mean that you are obliged to speak. You're not obliged to speak. In these classes, you're not obliged to speak. Sooner or later, I will make you speak. Maybe not right now because some of you are very new in these classes. However, in the classes with your teacher, in your normal week classes, you have to speak. That's like, see? And later in a couple of weeks with me, you will also have to speak. But not today. Some of you are very new. So I'm not that worried about that right now. All right. So, but any other volunteer?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
I enjoy practicing sport. For instance, I train kickboxing with a personal teacher every day. However, in the pandemic, it became a bit difficult to do with this frequency.
Good. We are very accustomed to use a bit, right? A bit, although a bit is a bit. A bit is slightly colloquial. Not that informal, but colloquial. Therefore, probably would like to use slightly.
Slightly? Okay.
Yeah, instead of using a bit, probably is better. Higher vocabulary, slightly. It's slightly difficult within this pandemic that we have to stay, inside our homes. We are not able to really go outside and do sports freely. So it's like slightly. Slightly would be a good word for that. Instead of a bit. Slightly is a better word than a bit. Better vocabulary, more formal, and in the end, it's going to imply a better score, okay? Good work overall. Next. Good work. Next.
I can go. I used to play tennis a few years ago. However, nevertheless, I injured myself. I got a sprained ankle, and it worsened to the point it became chronic. So, and additionally, to another few reasons, I had to quit playing tennis.
Good. You're not attributing something specific to the condition. Therefore, you cannot say chronicle. You're just saying a consequence of something. So it's just chronic.
What's the translation to 15 crónico then?
It's a chronic bruise.
Chronic. Hey, the word is chronic then. Yeah. Okay.
You said chronicle.
Yeah, I thought it was the right word for lesión crónica.
No, chronicle is that you are attributing something to that noun. Right?
I see.
You're not attributing a value to that noun. So it's not chronicle. It's chronic. Or you're not attributing a function to that. Right? There's no function. It is just a consequence. So it's just chronic. It's just the adjective there, like chronic. All right. Good. Excellent. Next.
Yes, me. I would like to about my daily sport training every day on the morning, specifically 7 a.m. I use the running machine. Additional, I train my arms beside my legs. However, I am tired and cannot bike to work. For instance, today I went to work by car. On the other hand, I think could be exercise at night and rest.
All right. Now, the use of on the other hand, what is the meaning that you want to give to on the other hand?
On the other point of view.
All right. And the sentence that comes after that contradicts the previous sentence or making exceptions to the previous sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Yes. Wouldn't it be better that if you just said in addition or additionally?
Addition. Beside?
Besides, that's good, yes. Now, write down on a piece of paper. From today until Monday, you have to send me 5 sentences using on the other hand. You need to write them. 5 sentences using on the other hand. I need to check that you really know what on the other hand will mean in terms of contradicting, in terms of giving something that is either opposite or will change the real meaning of what we are saying for something different that is not exactly in the same line with the previous sentence. Check this recording when it's uploaded a couple of times, but this is your homework. Who is your teacher?
Nicole.
Okay, so I'll also ask Nicole, if I don't receive anything from you, to have Nicole remind you about this, okay? Good. Now, another thing that I would recommend you, take a look and practice a bit with you said on, it was in actually, but you said on, and you said on with a day, I don't remember.
On the morning.
But,
On the morning.
On the morning, that's in the morning, okay? It's in the morning. I'm going to send all of you, I'm going to send you an email with the practice and visual work with the prepositions that are sometimes get confusing how we use them. So it's going to be very useful for you to use the prepositions in the correct form. Prepositions that are for time and place, especially in, on, and at, that are the ones that we usually confuse. Next.
May I?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you practice sports? Yes, I do. I keep on playing soccer. In fact, I'm part of the soccer team here in Santiago. Additionally, I love running long distances. For instance, I participated 2 years ago in the 5K event in Providencia. However, with the COVID phenomenon, I did not practice sport again.
Good use of connectors. They are right on point. Would you call the pandemic a phenomenon? Would it really be a phenomenon? What could it be? Is it really a phenomenon?
Yes, that's true. It's not, probably yes, it's a phenomenon, but it's a pandemic.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, maybe that phenomenon would have like an extra meaning. See, it's like, you can say phenomenon if you are attributing another value to this pandemic.
Okay.
Something like more, something that is more conceptual in terms of what you're saying. Maybe if there is a consequence involved with this pandemic, this phenomenon is being really, really
complex,
influential in many different aspects of our personality. Yes, that would be a phenomenon. Because now this pandemic has transcended into changes that have caused in ourselves. But that then is a phenomenon. All right? That's just
okay. Thank you.
Next Friday, Pedro. It's all Fridays from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We are about to finish. We are going to listen to a few more of you. Some of you already have advices and homework to do. Now, I have a good memory for classes only. The only good memory I have. So I have a good memory for this, at least. So next practice, I know for a fact that every kind of intervention that you take, then you will have to use a connector. Next class, we're going to work on passive voice in the speaking, but you have to use a connector. It's like every single class will be one more addition that you have to practice. Pedro, next Friday. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it going to be Christmas? Really? My goodness. All right, so we're going to have to change it. Probably will be on Saturday. I'll let you know. I'll send all of you an email. All right? So we might change it. We're going to have to change it to another day. Probably it's going to be Saturday or something. If you cannot enter, well, it's okay. I understand. Remember that if there is something that is pending on you in terms of like asking a question or something, send me an email or we refresh it again in another class. That's all. I will check. Let me see my schedule. Probably we do it then on Saturday. All right? No problem. I mean, if you can, all fine. It's just because of the Christmas and New Year's maybe where we can now really do it on Friday, I can see. But then we'll come back to normal later. So you'll be taken care of. Don't worry. All right? Good. Next. Okay. Well, yes.
I swam for 15 years, but now I am not swimming. However, I will swim after the COVID. Besides, I would like to do an Ironman. Nevertheless, I don't like to run.
You like to do the Ironman, but you don't like to run.
No.
That's good. All right. Well, that happens. Sometimes people have high developed skills that they have on their own, but then they sometimes don't like. Sometimes they use it because it's beneficial for them in some way, but actually something that it's not that they don't like, but maybe they don't just firstly prefer that. That could be the case. Or some people have some talents that they don't like, not that they hate, just don't like it, but they're useful for them in some way. Okay? Yes. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Nevertheless, I don't like to run, or nevertheless, I don't like run.
Nevertheless, I don't like to run. Nevertheless, I don't like running. ING. Yes. Now, what is the difference between I don't like to run and I don't like running? The difference is that when we say I don't like to run, it's the same as saying I don't like running. However, grammatically, one is a verb and the other one, the running, the one with the ing, is called a verbal noun. Is the description of the activity. Therefore, the first one is a verb, and the second one is the description of the activity. It's not running like the progressive form. It's not a verb. It's outside the box of the verb. Right? The verb can be used in 5 different ways. Therefore, the explanation will be this. Very good point. Very good point. Let's talk about run. To run, is that enough? So run, then is ran, right? And ran again. Is that correct? Ran. Let me check. I'm not sure. I haven't really. Conjugation of run. Verb to verb. Verb to verb. Verb to verb. Verb to verb. Run. Run. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Right here. So we have to run, ran, running, right? This is the use of the verb. This is a verb, right? And when we are using a verb, when we are using this verb without the verb forms, like the verb to be here, is running, was running, am running, etc. And the subject, he is running, he was running, she, I am running, see that. When we are not using a subject or an object, when we are not using with this form, right, the passive voice, was run, the marathon was run, or is run at this moment, or when I using the verb to be, I have run, has run, etc. When we are not using this subject object, good. This is basically the box of the verb, And this box of the verb has a specific use that is always automated. Next class, we're going to refresh on this again. Sometimes we need to use that verb, but without subject or object, without the verb to be, without the present perfect, without the progressive form. We need to use it outside the box. When we use the verb outside the box, the only way that the verb can survive is adding an ing. Otherwise, the verb will die. So this run has to be transformed into ing. That happens with all the verbs. Now, we are going to transform this into ing now. Why, see, ing. Why we need to add another n right there? Why do we need to add another n? For example, also drop. Why, when we are adding this to the ing or to the past time, I mean, actually, this is irregular. It would happen with this one.
It's because it's a rule. It's an English rule. Because
exactly.
When we have a vowel between two consonants, we have to repeat the last letter. I mean, the last consonant.
Exactly. So this is called the CVC rule. Consonant, vowel, consonant. A consonant, vowel, consonant. Anything that we do with this verb, either we put it in the ing form, like the present or verb noun form, or in the past. In that case, in this for running, because it's irregular, but happens with drop, which is actually regular, right? We need to add and we need to repeat the last consonant. Okay, we need to repeat the last consonant. In case of drop, because it's regular, it's going to be C, C, B, C. Consonant, vowel, consonant, double P, dropping. Or, in the past time, dropped. The CVC rule, important to refresh it. We use it and apply it for all the verbs. And I forgot what I was saying this. It's like, after 3 hours is a little bit, so I was saying this because I was correcting you. I think I was correcting you. Let's say that I was. Next, Questions or anything? We're going to refresh on this. It's important to use the verbal noun correctly because it also adds to our score when we write. See, the verbal noun, the ing, is highly used by native speakers because when we read with the ing, we have the writing has a better flow. It has a better flow. It smooths the writing. It's smoother. So it really helps. Questions? Any questions so far? Good. We write on time. Remember the ones that have a homework, 3 of you have to send me that homework before Monday. Otherwise, I will have to remind your teacher to tell you. Then secondly, next class, when we do the speaking practice, all of you will have to use connectors. We are going to emphasize the work in the passive voice. However, you will have to have incorporated the already. If you have any doubt about that and you don't know how to practice, send me an email and ask me, okay, how can I be ready with connectors for the next class? And I will send you, maybe I can make a video, send all of you, or I can send you my advice at that point. Number 3, remember that in the writing, we need to work on our mistakes. This is very important. This is crucial. If we don't know our mistakes, we are in a very vulnerable position. We are at a very weak point. Therefore, studying our mistakes is the first step to improve our writing. And to know very well, and to know them very well, is going to make us more precise, more exact, to save time, and not to be able to have, and not to have to go back all the time again to check the same mistakes. That is very important to consider, and also what you have to have in mind. Number 4, also remember that studying the structures and knowing the differences between the structures, structure number 2 with opinion, structure number 2 without opinion, it's also very important because it's going to give you precision and also a lot of confidence when you do the writing. Number 5, every time that you do the writing, you must feel comfortable with what you have chosen to do, okay? Some of us will have a problem. And the problem that we have right now is that even though we chose a structure, we still feel unconfident. And we are not so sure of what we are doing. When you choose a question, develop strongly and be fully convinced that what you have chosen is the right thing to do. This is very important in order to develop a writing correctly. This is truly important in order to develop a writing correctly. Number 6, remember that in your practice during the week, you need to record yourself when you're doing the practice. When we record ourselves, we understand better our mistakes. And not only understand better these mistakes, we are also becoming more aware of those mistakes. One thing is to know my mistakes, and another is to actually listen to them and have them become more internalized, to say the least. I mean, we know already what our mistakes are. Therefore, we can actually be more aware when we are speaking. When you listen to yourself and you listen to yourself committing that mistake, you are likely to use shorter time to improve that mistake. But when you become aware of something, you are likely to improve it faster than somebody telling you only that you are having that mistake. Very important. Number 7, study everything and just practice, okay? So it's been a pleasure. I hope I see you again. I'm going to...